Can the Utah Jazz defense actually get better? Are there other options? Are there ways for them to play that would make them a better defensive team? We dive into it next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We are available on all podcast apps and on YouTube. And to the Everydayers, you're the best. Welcome a few new members to the Everydayer Club today. Glad to have you aboard. Super flattered that you believe in what we're doing enough to join us. So thank you very much. Our newest member is John Kelly. Thank you for joining and becoming a member of the Everydayer Club, as did Brady Frank Williams. Glad to have you aboard as well. Thank you both very much. All right. On today's show, Will's Wednesday end of press conference of the day will address the defense. And then basically Andy Larson specifically asked him, like, do you actually have players that could be good defensively? And Will gave a really good coaching answer, because I think the answer is no. And then we're going to talk about Trae Young. There's an interesting lesson, I think, on all this Trae Young stuff about how what Atlanta's going to have to do. I want to start though with our defense. It's not good. It's not good again. It's been 3 years in a row. Let me start. I feel a little bit perplexed. Okay, let me start with two things. I feel a little perplexed about this conversation, and here's why. So one is, honestly, like, this team's not built to win 50 games. So if the front office had rolled a team out that was supposed to win 50 games, and then Will Hardy's team was 30th in the league defensively, we'd have a rub. But quite honestly, if you ask most people when the year started, thought was that Brooklyn and Washington were probably worse than we were, and we were next. That as long as we had Lauri, we were better than those two teams. So this team was not built with any intention of winning like 25 games, frankly. So I find it at that point pretty hard to start getting critical about a performance level of a team that wasn't built to win games. So that's the first thing. The second one, which probably I should get over and do what you want as a listener, is I think there's a little bit of, like, we've kind of tried this year really, really hard to not evaluate every player every night. So Kyle Filipowski doesn't hit a few threes and hasn't hit them in a little while. Like, are we doing an entire show on Kyle Filipowski's inability to hit the three? What do you mean? Well, if he can't hit the three, it's a problem. But let's give him, like, some grace to actually, if he doesn't shoot threes for 10 games, we'll talk about it in our 10-game review. So I do think there's a little bit here where I do think it's a worthwhile topic. I think there's some really interesting things that I'm going to bring up here. I do think there's some things they could do, at least numerically. However, like, I want to make sure we understand the context of the conversation. So the Jazz are not good defensively. Let me just, and I'm not going to lie about this. They're 30th in the league in half-court defense. We've gotten much better about transition defense and how often we're in transition defense. Last year, we were in transition way more than anyone else defensively. And the turnovers are down, and just overall team defense has been better, and floor balance has been better. And there is some level where I do feel like our system, with the amount of ball movement and things we do, leads us to having some problems of how often But this year we're 7th in the league in being in transition instead of last, or 7th most instead of the most, which is great. So we're 30th in the league in half-court defense. We're interesting. Late clock, we're actually pretty good. We're last in the league in defending a spot up. We allow way too many wide open shots. We allow the second most amount of wide open threes from 6 feet or more. New Orleans is now more than us. We're 30th in pick and roll defense. We're 26th against the pick and roll handler. We're 27th against pick and roll man. We're 28th against isolation. We're 29th against the handoff. Interestingly, we're 4th against the off-ball screen, which is we run the most of in the NBA, so maybe we're really comfortable guarding it because we do it in practice all the time. Yesterday on the show, and if you're going to happen to listen to more than one episode or watch more than one episode today, you can go back to it. We looked at our defensive scheme. And what we're really trying to avoid is two things. Nurkic is not a great drop big after his leg injury. He doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't protect the rim. And drop defense is not great because it forces no turnovers. And we're really trying to avoid getting Kyle Filipowski, Kevin Love, or Yusuf Nurkic switched onto a defender. I think those are both right. And so what we do instead is we string the defense out. The big stays attached until the primary defender can get back to the ball handler. The problem is that gets us into pretty decent-sized rotations that are leading to why we allow so many open shots. And right now, on a pick and roll, when we're defending, we allow 1.06 points per play. Now, you can actually go on various places and find defensive types. So if we play drop, we allow 1.05. So 1.06 on pick and roll chance. And they also have something called direct, which is that it comes out of that play right there. Then we're at 1.12. Okay, that's getting pretty bad. So that leads you to believe that dropping is not a very good idea. If we want to play switch, we're at 1.06, and direct chance, we're at 1.10. That's a little better, but not a great deal. Well, actually, that wasn't exactly right. I combined the two. I looked at my notes. No, that was exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. I want to make sure my notes are right. The other thing you can do is you can show, which is kind of what we do. We show and get back. And interestingly, at least according to the metrics, that is where we are actually at our worst. On the actual chance, on the direct play, we're doing a pretty good job. So there's the way Sports Genius looks at this is they talk about direct and then they talk about chance. And direct is the action comes directly off of that action. And when the Jazz show and then get back, which they do, it's 1.09. When they drop, it's 1.12. And when they switch, it's 1.10. So the show is the best defense. The problem is, as the play goes on and it becomes per chance, that's becoming our worst defense. Every piece of logic out there says you should not put Kyle Filipowski, Yusuf Nurkic, or Kevin Love in the pick and roll and then have them switch and be put on isolation. I think they're probably right. However, I do wonder a little bit whether us just playing switch, having that matchup get exploited, they would just go after it every time. It would just be a joke. But then we're not leaving wide open 3-point shooters because we're not in rotation as much, might do something. But eventually it'd be in rotation. The truth, though, is, at least in pick and roll, which is the majority of offense you see, Kevin Love, his defense is it's just not what he does. Like, he's not a center that guards pick and roll. He's 37 years old, and he's 6'9". So he's a 1.35. It's probably the worst in the NBA. One of the worst in the NBA. Yusuf Nurkic is a 1.05, and Kyle Filipowski is a 1.11. Those numbers are all honestly kind of obscene. So we're sitting here trying to figure out what else can we do and how do we analyze it. There's not a lot of choices. Those were all, by the way, just be clear, those were all when we're showing, when we're playing the style of defense that we're playing. But when you go back and look at Nurkic for the year, he's a 1.05, and Love is a 1.20, and Kyle Filipowski is a 1.04. What's interesting on Filipowski is Kyle's actually playing drop and switch semi-okay, at least according to the numbers. That when we switch the pick and roll right now, Nurkic gets worse, Love gets worse, and Filipowski stays kind of the same. When we end up, and let me be clear on something on this. To the credit of the Jazz, Yusuf Nurkic and Kevin Love have been played almost none in switch all year and have been caught in isolation almost none all year. So their numbers are really, but that's like, this is kind of the point. Like, and maybe I'm not being clear enough with the takeaway here. And this is getting long. Sorry. The Jazz are doing the right thing by not putting Nurk and not putting Love in isolation and not putting Flip in isolation on a switch. It would just be every single possession. But what we are doing isn't working great, which leads to the question of personnel. All right, I'll elaborate on this a little bit more. And I think the inability of Trae Young to be a successful NBA player that anybody wants, there's two folds to it, and they're both fascinating. Next on Locked on Jazz. The Wednesday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by my friends over at Intercap Lending and Steve Carter. Steve has been our own personal loan officer for a very long time. Maybe 7 years, maybe 8 years now. I kind of get lost on all these years. We've done this for 10 plus. And Steve's been with us, and Brock Worthen over at Intercap with us the whole time. Super appreciate it. They're a mortgage company that's shaking things up by making home loans accessible, straightforward, and personal. Whether you're buying your first home, refinance, or exploring options as a veteran, Intercap is there to guide you. It isn't your average mortgage lender. They're known as people first, and that's why we have Steve Carter, who is our own personal loan officer. He's going to take care of you. If you're in the market for a loan right now, email me at dlock09@gmail.com so I get you set up with Steve. Derek wrote back, super easy to work with, got us approved and closed in under 3 weeks. The app makes everything a breeze. Katie wrote, I work with Steve on loans. He gets the loans together quickly and is great to work with. Carlos, Steve is the best, always on top of it, gets back to you after hours if needed. One of the best companies and persons I've dealt with in many years. Thank you, Steve. What a great experience. That is what we're talking about, and that is why you have your own personal loan officer in Steve Carter. So make sure you email me at dlock09@gmail.com so we can give you the everyday or VIP experience with Intercap lending. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel's making them even better every Friday night. Before the game tips off, FanDuel gives you a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window with special offers. Drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become an appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the NBA FanDuel app, Happy Hour begins something new with boosts, bonuses, and surprises. Easy to check the weekly special before tip-off. Make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect right before the games, right before the weekend starts. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. That's 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday fun. NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. I'm having a flash of insecurity right now that I butchered that last segment. That we got too into the weeds, which I think we did. So I apologize. It might be because this is like I'm doing a show without coffee, which we never do, because the coffee shop in our hotel is horrific. I love this, by the way. The slogan is our coffee is okay because of Oklahoma. It's actually not. It's actually undrinkable. It's so bad. And I didn't get to one of the other coffee shops. And then, by the way, does anyone think this is weird? So I went downstairs to get my breakfast. I get yogurt every morning. And so they always have a yogurt parfait here, and they have an acai parfait, and they have something else. And I went to get my yogurt, and they were all out. None of them had nothing today. None of the three. And I said, it was 7:30, and I just said, like, are they coming? Did I blow it? Did they already get, like, they're like, oh, no, we got really wiped out yesterday. And just they all got ordered yesterday, and so we don't have any today. So does that mean that I'm eating day-old yogurt parfaits or acai parfaits or whatever's? I don't know. Like, is that not weird? Like, it doesn't seem like that's really the greatest refrigerator system, like those little open containers there. So, like, we usually, when I go to a coffee shop, those are like multiple days old. I never thought about that before. I don't know why. Maybe it shouldn't bother me. Maybe they're fine. But it seemed a little sketchy. All right, anyway. Everydayer Club. Love to have you aboard. For $15 a month, you get email access, one-on-one interaction with me on text messaging. You get Leaf Tuline's bonus episodes on the draft and college basketball and some other Jazz player stuff. He's doing great content. I did Darren Peterson piece this week. You get daily newsletters sent to your inbox on the show. You get 15% off the merch store. You get access to the merch store, which nobody else does. You get ad-free. You get Locked On Sports Today ad-free. You get access to our Discord channel, all for $15 a month or $150 a year. I feel like you get more. Oh, and bonus episodes when I do them, but I don't do a lot. Leaf does most of them. It's kind of cool. It's the Everydayer All Access program. You also get the Everydayer program where you get Locked On ad-free, Locked On Sports Today ad-free, and exclusive. It's the only way to get it on audio. And access to our Discord channel. That's all available for you at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. All right. Let me summarize the last segment because I do feel like I butchered it. What the Jazz are doing defensively without Walker is trying to stay out of drop with Nurk and Flip and Love. And trying to, in pick and roll, and trying not to switch. I do feel as though they could switch a little bit more. And then they wouldn't allow as many wide open threes, the second most of anyone in the NBA. To their credit, they have avoided getting Nurk or Love cotton switches. And frankly, if they started switching, let's just be clear, every single possession would be teams coming down the floor and just spreading the floor, getting the switch they wanted, opening it up, and attacking our guys. That would literally be what we'd watch every possession. And I don't think you can really run a defense where you're doing that every possession. So I get why we're doing what we're doing. I do think it'd be nice to take away some of the wide open threes. We could also play a little drop. But as I kind of tried to get in there and show you, like, the data's not great. The data on us playing drop is 1.05, but then if you take it out to direct, it's 1.12. In the half court, that's super high. Then the other level here, actually, let me make sure that I make that clear. Okay. The offensive team pick and roll average in the NBA is 1.0. So if we're allowing 1.05 offensively, that'd be about 10th. 1.06 on a switch, it's better than our 30th, but 1.18, which is, that's actually, sorry, that was just against us. That's a problem. Let me redo that. League average pick and roll, that was just against us, is 0.97, not 1.0, 0.97. So when we're in drop and we're at 1.05, that would be the 29th ranked defense in the NBA. When we're in switch at 1.06, that'd be 30th, and we're in show at 1.18, that's the worst. Like, kind of all three of the choices are not good. And the reason that the other two are better numbers is because we're protecting our guys. So the answer, I guess, to the lead question is, can we be better defensively? I think we could probably do some things so that we got punished differently. But we're pretty considerably the worst pick and roll defensive team in the league right now. Understandably, considering who our bigs are, maybe you can shake it up a little bit. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't, we're pretty far off. But all of our numbers kind of lead us to 30th in the NBA, which I think is probably more personnel than anything else. Which kind of gets to our next topic. It's fascinating to me that Trae Young might be one of the 10 best offense players in the NBA, and Atlanta can't move him. Now, he also might be a colossal, terrible teammate. That story is out there. Always has been since he was at Oklahoma. There was a team that charted how rarely he ever touched his teammates in the draft and how little he ever interacted with them at Oklahoma. So this may be, but I think this is a real statement that if you're 6'1", you have to be superhuman, and maybe not even superhuman. Because I would argue that Trae Young is close to superhuman offensively. And Atlanta still can't figure out how to make it work with him. This really is becoming a 6'4" to 7'1", 7'4" league. Like, if you're not 6'4" or 6'5" as a guard anymore, like I'm watching Denny Avdija play the other night. He's 6'8", 220, and he's basically your point guard. And Luka's bigger than that. And we run down the list, and you have to be 6'5" or bigger now. 6'4" or bigger as a primary ball handler. The size is what Isaiah Collier, who they listed 6'5", does not feel it. And Walt Clayton they're going to really have a tough road. Guys are doing it. Peyton Pritchard's doing it. Donovan's incredible. He's doing it. But, boy, you've got to be really incredible. That's what jumps out to me. All right, Will's Wednesday is next. His comment on the defense and what we have to do better next on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money, do you know where your subscriptions are? Do you know what unwanted things you're paying for? Rocket Money is here to share it for you. Let's be real. Managing your finances can be overwhelming. Between subscriptions, you forget about bills, keep going up, trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control, and who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in. The personal finance app helps you take control. It finds you cancel your unwanted subscription, monitor your spending, and help your lower your bills so that you grow your savings. What you can find out is the subscription and hidden fee things. You also can track all your subscriptions so you know when to cancel them if you have a certain time period. You also can do automatic transaction categorization. It's pretty game-changing. It lets you see exactly where your money is going, set goals, budgets, get personalized insight, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, and low balances. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. And today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Right now, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $50 instantly with your first $5 bet. Whether you're starting a new routine, jumping into player projections for the first time, try something new. You can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it's always feels good to be right. High-pressure football matchups every weekend, elite hoops account almost every night, action almost every night. The action never slows down. Prize Picks lets you stay in control. Prize Picks, daily fantasy app that makes your watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No draft, no waiting. Just pick more or less, play your way. Getting started on Prize Picks. It's quick and simple. The app is easy to use. Make watching games more engaging, especially when following individual players. Flexibility of flex pay. Flex play allows you to get paid even if one of your players misses. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after play your first $5 lineups. That code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Will's Wednesday. Let's see if I can cue it up for you. I always try to find something interesting in the pressers from Will. Will's very good. And I thought he was interesting this week about just defensively what needs to happen, what's going on. And then I don't know if we're going to get to it, but he is asked kind of, it's probably 4 minutes total. We'll get to it. He is asked what his viewpoint is on trying to get this team to play better defense. Why did that just happen? Oh, I get what's going on here. Here's what he said.
Well, I mean, I think we've identified the type of shots that we're trying to take away, but we need more of a scramble mentality on every possession. Right now, we are late mentally, and we do not have the athleticism as a group to make up for that physically. It takes a lot of anticipation to do those things possession after possession. Defense takes a relentless level of competitiveness because there are so many situations that happen in every game. And am I supposed to go over the screen or under the screen? Well, the reality is that doesn't matter as much as not getting screened. Stop running into the screen. That is the only answer that never works, is just running into the screen and dying. On the weak side, am I supposed to take away the rim, or am I supposed to, we we have a priority kind of list of you're going to get put in a bad spot sometimes defensively. And when in doubt, take away the rim. And then when you're scrambling on the weak side, a lot of it is personnel recognition. If two people are equal, you'd like to take away the corner three. If two people are not equal, you have to try to make a decision on which one you'd prefer to shoot. But ultimately, I'd like for our identity to be we can play a couple of different styles because, like I've said, I don't envision a world where we're going to be able to play one coverage for 82 games and through the playoff, run. And so, yeah, we will continue to adjust and, try to identify different schemes as a staff that can help. But I think right now we've generated a pretty good defensive shot profile, but we're not doing a very good job of contesting those shots at a high rate. Believe me, it's a collective effort, coaches, players, in order to make improvements in that area. It's crazy for how good our offense has been, how little we actually talk about it as a group. Defense is what we're attacking every day, and it's what we'll continue to attack until we get it right. And, I'm the person that takes the responsibility for how our team performs. I come and talk to you guys every day, and I'm never going to duck my responsibility in terms of leading our group. And my expectation is that everybody on our team take responsibility for their individual play.
Kind of related, like you guys play the Thunder next game. We talked to their coach about why their defense is so good, and they say, hey, this starts with personnel. They draft really long, athletic guys who are defense first guys. Do you have the personnel to play defense well in this league?
I think any group of people can perform to a certain level. I don't want to put a limitation on our group at all on that side of the ball. Believe me, if I didn't believe in the ability for a group of people to outperform the sum of their parts, or if I didn't believe in the ability for individuals to grow and get better, then this would be a horrible profession for me. I go to bed with that belief. I wake up with that belief. My job is to hold our team accountable, but my job is also to teach them, to inspire them, to give them hope. So, yeah, I don't want to put any limitations on our team, to say that any group like, oh, they just can't. That would be a terrible way to go about this every day.
So that's Will Hardy. I thought that was a pretty fascinating approach. I guess I'm a little bit here to tell you that maybe he doesn't have the personnel to do that. That's kind of what my point was today, is that there's just not a lot of good options. They're probably doing the best of the options they have, particularly on pick and roll, where we're by far the worst in the NBA. We've gotten better at transition. He's right. We're forcing good shot profile, and I admire his approach. That is, we're going to try to keep getting better. The truth is, where we started today, maybe we're wrapping this up in a bow. The team wasn't built to win 50 games. It wasn't built to be a great defensive team. Our best defensive players out for the year. I think this might be the reality, and probably not one we should be banging the coaches for. That's my take. That is Locked on Jazz. Thanks very much for tuning in. We now send you to the, if you want to join the Everyday program, it's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA on YouTube. Plus, check out Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night.